Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. This is Ann Rossley. I'm with Kyle Harvey. We're with Baird and Warner, and we're here this morning, like every Monday morning, to talk to you about Chicago real estate tips, trends, and tricks for making real estate a smooth and wonderful experience. So, Kyle, how are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. I had a very productive weekend.
Terrific. Now, you were mentioning right before we went on the air that kind of coming back from last week where we had Sasha on and we were talking about home organizing, you had kind of an interesting home organizing experience last week.
Yes, well, it was this weekend.
This past weekend.
Going on a little bit. I've got clients who are moving out of or planning to move out of a place they've been in for almost 20 years. And they've lived in it well and beautifully, and now they've got to get it smaller and downsize and reduced for pictures and for showing, and they're doing a great job. It's so hard to do, but they're doing it. And so I worked with Sasha Mayoris of Space Coach, and sometimes what is great organization to live in and great organization to sell are sort of different things. So we really worked well together to come up with a plan that hopefully will work for these people. And they were such good sports.
Now, you were mentioning to me that you and Sasha had a little bit different point of view with them.
Yeah. Well, she first of all is great about helping people get ready to move. But she's also great about helping people organize to live in the space. And some of the, because these people have to live through the showing, they've got to live in this beautiful condo while we're marketing it and through the process and while they find their next home. And so she's very attuned, and she's very emotionally intelligent, and she's very attuned to how they want to live and them being happy living there. Whereas I am much more focused on what's a buyer going to want? How is a buyer going to say, I want to live here? So because we're all deeply respectful of each other's skill sets and we're very focused on the client, I think it worked okay. I mean, but there were some areas of tension because I want it to be seen as big and empty, and they want it to be still their home and comfortable. So I think we did, and I cannot thank the client enough for being open to all that we were suggesting.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the whole process, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So this week, as you know, Kyle, but viewers, we have a very special show for you. After we talk about the statistics and what's going on in the marketplace, we're bringing in our great resource, Julie Friedmann. Julie is an interior designer, and she also helps us with staging and with zhuzhing and with construction in our homes. So she's got a lot of good stuff to share. We're going to see some wonderful before and afters.
Yes.
So
I really look forward to hearing her tips because she's got both the organization and the fixing and remodel, the quick fixes and the bigger fixes too, which I thought was really exciting. But first, let's talk about the stats. What have you got for us, Ann?
All right. So let's talk what's happening in the Chicago Lakefront neighborhoods.
I like that date is on there.
Okay, this is, I think, the 5th Monday of the month. So everybody's seen these statistics. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly with you all. Okay, $439,000 is the median sales price in the neighborhoods for both attached and detached, and we are on the climb, people. Market time is down. We're at 36 days on market time.
And that means a hot market.
That's a hot market. Okay, last list price. 98% of the last list price is where the contracts are coming in. Right now, there are 3,500 homes for sale in this geographic location, which is down. As you can see, it's similar to December's of previous year, but still not down quite as much as other holiday seasons. Closed units, we're a little bit low here, but it's still higher than February of last year. And that was a really strong February. So units under, was that under? Club is closed. Okay. So now we're going to look at under contract. And under contract is down, and that's because we have less inventory. Actually, if you look, this is a monthly number, and that's why it's so jagged. If you look at it more in a rolling 3 months, we're actually up. Month supply of homes, again, is down because we have no inventory. So summarizing, number one, prices are steadily rising, up 41% since 2011.
Thank God.
Number two, market time of 36 days is down 23% since June of 2020. Number three, the average sales price is 98% of the last list price or 97% of the original list price. Homes for sale, in terms of number of homes for sale, is down almost 18% from February 20 levels, and homes closed in February, that was up 28% versus previous year. And by the way, that is the highest February. The one we experienced this year is the highest number of homes closed in the last 10 Februaries. Properties under contract is under 16%, down 16% from February 20 due to our low inventory. And as I mentioned, if you look at the rolling 3 months, we're actually up 12% versus last year. So things are going well, peeps.
The main takeaway for all of you who are watching us is we don't have enough inventory for the amount of activity that is going on in this market. So if you have any thoughts of selling, now is the time. I don't know that this will continue to be this hot once we come out of sort of the pandemic thinking. People might just get more comfortable. They'll focus on other things rather than finding their next home. There'll be other things to occupy our time. Now is the time to put your home on the market if you have any thoughts of selling.
Absolutely. All right. So I would like to, at this point, bring in our special guest, Julie Friedmann.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Thanks for being with us. This is really fun. And you're such a trooper to be on at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh,
so
I'm up.
I've known you, Julie, for a long time, but tell us a little bit, because the audience doesn't know you as well. You are an interior designer by vocation.
Correct. I'm an interior designer. I've been designing residential homes for 20 plus years. And besides residential interiors, I did a lot of visual merchandising as well. And I think that's been one of the keys to my transition with helping some of the staging is I have a real brain for how it should look. I mean, I'm the weirdo in the room who wants the book shifted that much on the coffee table, you know? And that, so as a visual merchandiser, it's really a different eye than just interior design. So with interior design, I tackle a completely empty home that's a brand new build, or personally my favorite is to go into somebody's house, figure out what they can still use, repurpose it, what needs to go, what needs to come back in. And that also is kind of segued into a bit of a real estate eye, because I can see, okay, they should bring to their new home. Otherwise, you know, let's get rid of every, you know, key items to keep and key items to bring in new.
Right.
So I love what I do. And as I said, I've been doing it for New York primarily. I've only been in the Chicago area for, it's going on 4 years, thanks to Rossley finding us a wonderful home here in Chicago.
What brought you to Chicago? I love hearing people who come from somewhere else and decide to live in Chicago.
Well, I'm originally from Bloomington, Illinois. Lived in Chicago, raised a family in New York, and then my husband had a job opportunity here right as we were empty nesting, and we decided to go for it. My mom's local, and so we just gave it a new try. New city.
Yay, Chicago.
So we could talk to Julie forever, but we want to focus today on 2 specific areas. And these are areas that relate to real estate and relate to what our viewers may be interested in doing. The first one is, last week we talked about home organizing. Today we want to talk about actually 2 different steps within that home preparation process. The first one being we've got a situation where a homeowner may have lots of wonderful things. So all we need to do is take those things and kind of zhuzh them around to make the home spectacular to sell. The other thing we're going to touch on briefly, and Julie has a real great eye for this, is if somebody needs to do some pre-listing construction or repairs to get the home ready to sell. And it may be that you don't list your home for 5 years, but you want to do a few things to it. Julie can come in and make some things happen. So we're going to talk about those.
Perfect.
And with all that in mind, I'm going to share my screen because I don't know about you all, but I love before and afters. So let's look at some. All right. This is, and I'll just introduce it. This is the property at 2145 Clark, where it was a lovely townhome, 2,800 square feet. And there are some beautiful things in this home, but I just felt like if we could bring Julie in, we could do some things to really make it pop and get it ready for photography. Because that's the other thing too, Julie, right? Not everything translates in the camera, right?
Correct. I remember when Ann called me about, oh, excuse me, go ahead.
Let me ask you. So I looked at this. Share with us what you thought about this room would not translate well for photography.
Oh, well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Right.
When Ann called me, she said, Julie, I have this beautiful home and I want you to take a look at it. We probably just need to clean it up a little bit. So I walked in and she's absolutely right. It's a beautiful home, but your first instinct is this person has lived there for a really long time and has a lot of stuff. So instead of people being able to envision their own stuff, which if they want to buy this place and they want to live there, they have to be able to close their eyes and see their stuff in there. And this was just too much. So instead of seeing not only the architecture and the size of the room and them envisioning their own things, they just saw all the homeowner's other things. So it's not necessarily that the homeowner had offensive things or, that it's really ugly or any of that. It's more that it was just too much. Books are my favorite things to style with and a favorite accessory. But here, even though this tells the buyer tons of storage, beautiful bookcases, beautiful built-ins, it just was too much. So we rearranged a few things. We removed a few things, and Ann can show you the before and after. Obviously, the screenshot pulled it back some, so that definitely helped with photography, which is key. But
let me point out a couple things here. We had big flowers over here, which there was a stage when big flowers were in style, not so much.
Right.
There were all the candles here. Notice that we've got some books there.
The books are a much more sophisticated way of styling the coffee table. The room also felt really tight. So we took that chair and we moved it over to the fireplace. The fireplace seemed like it was just a second thought. This way, you've made the room larger by including the fireplace in the seating area and making that also a reading nook, And
I don't know if you can see this, but we've taken some of the statues and Julie put them into the bookshelves, put some books on their side. So it's more of an interesting thing to look at. Yeah,
I noticed that side, I guess on my screen, it's the left side of the fire. Those books seem much, you thinned it out a little bit so that you can see, and it doesn't seem so heavy books.
Right.
Which I thought was good. I would have done a little bit more on the other side too, but it looks really good.
When you thin out your books, a real big part of it is place as many as you can. In this case, we had so many to work with, and they were also collectibles that it wasn't something that we could suggest for the client to send away to Salvation Army or any of that. She wanted to keep the collectible books. So instead of having all your books vertical, placing them horizontal with like a little tchotchke on top changes the look tremendously. And when it feels styled, the home feels cared for. So the home feels like, oh, they've taken really good care of this home because they care enough to style their books. I know that sounds silly, but
it sounds great.
Just the buyer's brain goes to, this home is really curated and cared for.
I also like, wait, can you go back? Like what you
Sure.
did over the mantle on the,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That piece
Like,
of
look at
art,
that there. Here's the before again. See the before?
Mhm.
And here's the after.
right. And not only did that help the fireplace by having art there, but that particular piece of art she had in the stairwell as you came up. And there was two of them. It was a pair, and they were just too big for the wall. So not only did we help the art here, but we helped the stairwell not look so crowded.
Excellent.
So at the top of the townhouse was an office area. And I don't know how much you can see, but there were baskets and baskets of things, which was good. It was not so cluttered, but there is still too much. And so here's what it looked like after. And
It's
again,
hard to see in the before and after photo, the real detail of it, but we cleaned it up and we just cleaned it up.
Did you add those pictures, or was all that there? You just tidied the work area to make it look streamlined? Okay, got it.
Correct.
okay. So I love showing this picture because I was showing this to my husband, Tom, and I'm like, look at that. Isn't that fine? And Tom's like, yeah. Most people would say, this is fine. Just plump the pillows and we're good to go, right?
Not Julie.
Not Julie. Look at that.
So what we did, the most important part of this picture was you'll notice that the table is now in between the two beds. And then we gave it a punch of color because it was just beige upon beige upon beige.
Yep.
And so many times I find that a realtor prefers, well, it's got to be plain. It's got to be plain. But it didn't give it any style. So we just
And it picks up the
table and
blue.
chairs in between instead, and changed the way the throws were on the end. And the client, by the way, had these pillows. We didn't buy anything new to bring. I'm the queen of running to Home Goods for things, but this client didn't need that.
But you also picked up the blue with the umbrella outside, and it sort of brought the outside in a nice way.
And makes that feel like a suite.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, this is the family room. And it's a little bit difficult because our before and after pictures aren't exactly right, but there were several things on the TV console here and a bunch of things here, and again, the book. So here it is after. So we brought the lanterns
Yes.
over. We moved a table into this area. The books here styled.
The upstairs on where the fireplace was, remember?
Yeah.
And then styled you can really see the styled books in this case.
You can also tell how important lighting is to a room. And yes, they turned on more lights here, but you probably styled it and brought more light into the room and stressed the importance of light.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other point on this one is the pictures. You can tell the update, but it's very minimal of what I did. So did not take much of my time. So also does not cost the client and or it may be the realtor to have made these changes, but they are significant to the eye and the buyer as you walk in the home.
I think, Julie, didn't we only spend like 3 hours?
3 hours.
3 hours. Used all her stuff. So it was just a consultation fee.
But it made a difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Here again. Looks good, right? Nice, clean deck.
Oh, beautiful.
We brought those pillows in. For those used to be, the American flag pillows used to be inside in that blue room that we just showed you. And we moved some things around, and it
Looks
just
darling.
Yeah.
Doesn't
really.
it? I know. All
It
right.
looks like a place you want to have drinks. You want to be out there. Yeah.
Now we're going to go to somewhere else. This is a place that I haven't been before. So Julie, tell me what we're looking at.
So in this situation, you could tell on the left side where it was a kid's playroom. And if you look at those toys, you're going to guess that they have maybe 4, 5, 6-year-old children. No, they have kids in their early 20s, and they have left this playroom like that forever because they just never use it anymore. They have this really big home. If you look to the left of the picture, you can see this little file cabinet. See that little chest? And the mom, who is, believe it or not, has her doctorate and is a high-powered person because of COVID, has been working, her office became the kids' playroom because it was a room that never got used. And so obviously she knew she needed to change this, and life gets in the way and you just don't get to it. So we walked through her house. She was willing to buy some new stuff to create this office for herself. Well, when I'm upstairs, and we'll go back for 1 second, Ben. When I'm upstairs, I see in her family room this desk that she's actually using as a console behind a couch, and that chair is a plop to place because the seat, if you could see the beach towel, has been completely chewed by the dog. So like, I don't want to pay much, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, if you don't want to spend much, let's clean up the playroom. And why don't you use that table and chair from the family room, and we will create you an office. So now here we go, and voila. So then we Salvation Armied all those toys. The file cabinet is now over in the corner with her printer. We did buy her one new etagere from a fabulous place up on Montrose. That was a $300 shelf. We recovered the seat of that chair, and now she's got a beautiful bona fide office. You don't see in the picture, but behind her, we have hung all of her awards and all that because she does Zoom quite often. So her backdrop is now beautiful. But that playroom, we used absolutely everything she owns other than those bookshelves, and that home is now an office. So this not only makes sense from a design standpoint, this particular client is not selling, but boy, had she been, the before and after is invaluable, obviously.
But also you've raised her satisfaction with her home.
Exactly. And it's not like this is some high design office by any means, but it's a really nice functioning space. And she had it all along. And she's like, I can't believe I've lived with those toys. I can't believe I never thought why I was using a desk for a console, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really proud of this one. It was the before and after was very rewarding for me as well.
I love look at that typewriter. One of those old-fashioned.
That was her grandfather's. So she had some collectibles that were just stuck in a closet. And, so when you tell people to get rid of their collectibles, there are some I have to keep. And here's a case where we were able to use it. And it's really a nice styling feature on that shelf.
Beautiful. All right, let's shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the things I would encourage everyone to do who's thinking about doing home improvements is to talk to their real estate agent first, because there are ways to do home improvements that you spend your money wisely, that you can enjoy, and that will return a good dollar amount when you go to sell. So Julie came in to an Elmhurst townhouse, which I'm going to show you in a second. The the owner rather, is not going to sell for 5 years, but he wanted to make some improvements to improve the enjoyment of his home and then be able to sell it in 5 years. So many of us have seen the honey oak throughout the home. That's, what is it, like 80s, 90s that they were doing that. And so Julie came in, and tell us what you recommended here.
Well, of course, there's a budget involved with everything, as there should be. And the staircase, it's the first thing you see as you walk in. So you're just slammed with the 90s. It's the first thing you see. So actually, the original recommendation was to just only do the stairs. So we wanted to, I also, especially when they're going to sell, really have the advice that you want to have it be timeless and classic, because trends come and go. And in fact, that's why we know this is from the 90s. So you can't be just a classic white spindles. I mean, if we wanted to design this, that he was going to be there forever, and the trend right now might be really fancy black wrought iron, but that's not going to suit him in 5 years, because I can't predict the trend from 5 years from now. So classic always works. So in this case, he was going to do paint the white rails, as well as the handrails. We were going to do dark, and we're going to leave the honey floor originally, because by doing the painting and the lighting, it would have helped the honey, but he got so caught up in how gorgeous it looked that we ended up refinishing his floors as well. So my key, the two things that absolutely update your house no matter what, is to paint the walls and lighting. Lighting is the biggest trigger for my house is old. That particular light, compare it, do the circle on the other one, Ann. Oh my gosh, right? And the new light we bought him, $139. So
and here's the thing also, that the tone has shifted from the slightly yellowish, yellowish to a slightly gray.
right.
That changes everything. You're absolutely right. It is classic, and it will even look okay. Even if styles change, it will look okay in 5 years, no matter if it becomes something else. It will be classic. Yeah.
Correct.
Very
Correct.
well.
I know everybody was on the gray bandwagon for a while. Gray is here to stay. It's a fabulous neutral. Blue right now seems to be the color everybody wants to see when they walk in, and obviously blue is a beautiful complement to gray. But I tend to go very soft grays that have a little bit of what I call greige in them. So then it's a real good neutral for either the beiges or the grays. But his kitchen, same thing. Here's all the honey. And the first thing I noticed when I walked in was I really hated the direction of the island. I really wanted it to go, the picture's tight enough that you don't see that the left side of your picture is much longer. I have no idea why that builder put the island the way it is. So we switched the direction, and now he can really use bar stools. And we painted the entire kitchen white. We're not done here. In fact, I'm going there on Thursday for the full installation, but there has since been hardware added. He had tiny little round knobs, and we've given him substantial pulls, so it really looks sexy. We do have his dark appliances, but he wasn't buying new appliances. So the black legs on those counter stools was purposeful, so that the harsh of the blackness of the appliances wasn't so stark. You'll also notice that we removed the chandelier or the two pendants altogether and put in lights. The island's pretty small. I mean, it is a townhome. So they really were just blocking everything, and they didn't really add much style. Behind those bar stools will be the table and chairs, and we have a beautiful light fixture there, ample light. There was no reason to have those pendants there, so we removed them altogether. And you can speak to this one immediately, right?
Well, okay, so it's hard to kind of explain, but this area is probably originally designed to be a dining room, but in this case, Mike used it for a TV area, and the dining is adjacent to the kitchen to the right where you see the chair is there. And, all of us who got married 20 years ago or got out of college and started our homes had these family pieces, which are beautiful, but they aren't necessarily what we're looking to do with today's aesthetic, right?
Exactly. So this is where I said to him, okay, you have two choices. You either, and I loved what you said earlier, that the organizer you all spoke with last week, that she was emotionally smart. Huge part of my job. But if this is a family heirloom, to me to just dismiss it as, oh, let's send this off. So I really gave him the option of, okay, this needs to become a true family room, TV area, and then you can create a formal dining room adjacent and we'll make it look formal, or you need to get rid of it altogether. So luckily in this case, he had no arguments. He said, no, I'm dying to get rid of this thing. So we were lucky in that regard, and gave the advice to put in a built-in. So the picture makes that built-in look like it's falling forward. I think it was just the quick angle that I gave it, because obviously this isn't done yet. But we did a built-in there to match the kitchen. He'll have his TV installed. We've got speakers coming, and just what an improvement.
I think it makes the room look wider.
Can we go back? I'm looking at the ceiling. You've added new canned lights.
We did, because in this before picture, you don't see, but in the center of the room is an awful ceiling fan. And I'll just let you all picture. I know you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Huge dome that's like yellow, and then honey blades, awful. So the room is tight. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to add a chandelier. Let's lift the ceiling by just adding can lights and then having ample light that way. So when you do light fixtures, it's not necessarily about buying new ones. Sometimes you remove them and add can lights and you elevate a ceiling, especially in a space like this.
Excellent.
Now, this is a completely different home. Exact same situation. This is a place in Kinsey Park that was actually on the market a couple years ago and got no hits, nothing. They had some bad advice. We're sending her to Ann Rossley now. But anyway, so they just took it off the market, frustrated. I went in there about 3 months ago. We're still, we're going to be done actually this week. We're doing a big installation. But anyway, same thing. Here's your honey. They did not want to do the expense of gutting the bathroom and doing all new. So here's where paint comes in. So paint not only your walls, but in this case, in the last case, we painted the kitchen cabinets white. Here we're painting the master bathroom. We also got new sinks and countertops, as well as you can see the new faucets. So it's much more, the layout is identical. Actually, that's not true. You see the bench underneath the window. We removed that and we did a second pairing. See how in the gray, you can see that there's a tall cabinet to the left and the right?
Yeah.
The reason we did that is because they very awkwardly had a washer and dryer in their master closet. And the master closet could be so much better if it didn't have that washer and dryer in it. It almost made it feel small. So we took a hall closet, put the washer dryer in, a hall closet that used to hold linens, put the washer and dryer in there. And then now by having a left and right in the master, there's plenty more space for the linens in here. And you don't feel like you lost a linen closet. The washer and dryer also has some shelves in it. But that's one of the reasons we then removed.
Going back, did you change the floor or is that the same?
We did. The floor is
the nice floor. Yeah.
Right. Everything is new other than the cabinets themselves were painted. But sinks, faucets, they spent some money here. But
did they do the tub and shower?
Yeah, that's your next picture.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's your next picture. So on your left is the before. They had the big, huge jacuzzi built in. And we switched it's not done here. You can see we're still missing the glass doors. This is mid-construction. But
very nice.
We have put in the floating tub. And in this case, it's a steam shower. And all of the shower fittings are quite expensive. We reused the shower head. Now the freestanding tub fitting is new, but all of those fittings we reused them because there was nothing wrong with them. So that would have been another $2,500 added to this renovation. So we kept the steam shower, added some really fun new tiles. The floor, by the way, is porcelain, but it looks really great in the large format tiles, $250 a square foot. So this was done with the mind of resale, but with the mind of, don't spend much, but make it look like a luxurious new master bath.
When you say $250, you mean $250 a square foot?
$2.50.
That's what I thought you meant. That's the beauty of porcelain.
Yeah.
I love saving people money. It's just this thing I have, which
what I put in my bag.
It still has to look like $1 million. You don't want it to look cheap. There's a real fine line between saving money on a renovation and spending the right money on a renovation.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well,
so Julie, we've talked a little bit about color. What are your favorite colors? What are you
I have two go-tos. I'm a Benjamin Moore girl. I love Benjamin Moore. And my two favorite colors are classic gray, which is OC 23, and gray tint, which is 1611. Gray tint is the soft gray I was talking about earlier. Grays can be a straight gray, like an elephant gray, or they go a little green, they go a little brown, they go a little blue. Gray tint is one that goes a smidge blue. And it just looks so much crisper along white trims. And, as I said earlier, navies and blues are kind of a go-to for staging. So that little bit of blue and gray tint, I love. And then classic gray is more of a classic gray has the word gray in its title, but it's not on the wall. It's basically a beige, but so many beiges go what I say look like bad pantyhose. So this one has enough little gray in it that it doesn't go pantyhose. It's a real pretty gray that's still crisp against white trims.
Excellent.
Very similar. This is not it, but it's very similar to the background of my room. This
Okay.
is your pewter.
So how do you work with clients to establish priorities? How do you get them to see what you see?
Being emotionally smart. I mean, I just seeing the space, doing an analysis of it, and just see it per case basis. Really, it's going to be based on budget. It's going to be based on, is the house going to be empty or is it going to be occupied while they're trying to sell it? Are they planning to bring everything with them? Or because I'll say to them, well, if you're going from a big suburban home, which is what I did, to a condo when we moved here to Chicago, I knew I had to get rid of stuff. So why have them hold all that stuff and then have to figure out how I'm going to get rid of it? Let's get rid of it now if you know you're not bringing it to the next place. It also, moves are stressful for people. So it's checked off one more thing on the box that they don't have to deal with when actual moving day happens. So, those factors are weighed in before you really give the solid advice on what they need to do. But paint and lighting are my two must-haves, and decluttering, of course, if they're not willing to get rid of their beautiful collectibles.
We, at the top of our segment here, talked about using a client's things and moving them around. Mm-hmm. Would you say that just about every listing, even when they're perfection, could use an extra set of eyes?
Yes, because I'll pat myself on the back and say my eye is more refined than a realtor's eye. I mean, you guys see it all the time, but you were pointing out earlier when you were talking about meeting with this organizer that the realtor's goals are different than the organizer's goals. It's the same thing here, and that first before and after. You had said to me when you pulled me, oh, it's just lovely. And it was, but it needed that refinement. And that's where I think my talent helps a realtor.
Especially when in the higher priced properties where organizing things slightly differently makes it achieve that price, makes somebody see that, yes, this should be a $1.2 million, $1.3 million property versus a $900,000 property. Sometimes you have to show the possibility and market it, like you said, merchandise it in a way that will change how people perceive a property.
Agree. And certainly there's the higher end that have already had a designer and the place is perfect. Of course, there are those examples.
Right. But I would say most properties I list, I need you to come in and give it the once over. Right. So let's talk about that a second, Julie. In my younger days, I thought interior designers were well out of my reach and nothing that I could do. But that's not the case, is it? You can be hired on a consultation hourly basis or tell me about that.
I work differently than, our industry, everybody handles it differently because so much has changed in the design industry that so many things are accessible online. And so a lot of old school designers, they don't charge anything, but they have their client pay complete retail. Well, in those cases, the designer is making half of whatever that person is making. So that's where they have their salary. Other people, I personally do it all by the hour, and all the merchandise that a client is purchasing, I give them my discount towards whatever they're purchasing. I use their credit card. It makes a difference. Well, I won't get into all those details, but anyway, I do it by the hour, and it's $150 an hour. And if I go in and do a consultation, it's a 2-hour thing. The client could say, okay, thank you very much, and that's it. Or Ann and I went and I physically did everything. So we can do that either consult and tell them what to do, or come back in and also do it for them.
Right. And the other thing too, I want to point out, Julie, and you're too modest to say this, but sometimes you hire a professional and you pay them on an hourly basis. And part of that is they do the research, and you're paying for them to do the research. But Julie is in and out of these stores so often that she can go into a home and say, oh, we could use that light from Home Goods. We could use that from Home Depot, and boom, boom, boom. And it's there. And, sometimes you do have to do research, but you know what's out there.
Exactly. And in fact, to that point, I'm almost embarrassed sometimes that I'll do a complete design in like 2 hours. And I almost feel like they're going to think that I didn't put much thought into this, but it's because I'll walk into a house. I'm like, okay, the chair from CB2 really belongs in that corner, or whatever the case may be. So yes, I'm a speedy designer because I'm just always out there.
But you're accessible, and that was the big point I wanted to make, is this is not something we're talking about for the only few. This is, and that's why this segment was so important to me, is because most people, if they're investing in getting their home ready for sale, it is so worth a minimum of 2 hours to get some professional advice.
I'm also not a snob about, I source everything from high-end Merchandise Mart to Home Goods. So, you can finish off a room perfectly with the most gorgeous pillow from Target on your bed, and you're done, So that's important to point out to people. Then when they hear the word designer, they think, oh gosh, what's this going to cost me? And I just don't operate like that.
This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Diane,
for having me
today.
This was awesome, Julie. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I meant, Julie. I apologize. I had a senior moment. Thank you for joining us. And people watching, if you're interested in reaching out to Julie, we have her contact information and we'll send it to you.
Thank you, ladies.
Yay. Thank you. And next week, we're going to focus on staging from zero, either virtually or bringing in furniture. But we'll tell you all about that in the notice that we put up. So thank you, Anne. Thank you, Julie. This was a real pleasure. I learned a ton.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.